You're listening to
the Beer O'Clock.
The Beer O'Clock Show.
You're listening to the Beer O'Clock Show.
Ho, 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 it's Beer O'Clock, and this is the Beer O'Clock Show, the final episode for Season 8 in 2015, as we roll down the hill to Christmas. Joining me, the man who's dragged me along through the whole thing, is my beer buddy and Santa's favourite elf, Steve. Hello, Steve.
Hi, Mark. How you doing?
All right, mate, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Very good. With, like I said, end of the season, end of the year. There's a big old show to get through as our usual end of season review. But we've got a big old beer to go along as well. We are doing Fuller's Vintage Ale, which is bottle conditioned, and this one is from 2014. So we'll get to that in just a little while. We've been looking forward to that all year.
Very much so.
But before we do that, what have you been drinking in the last week or so, mate?
It's been a fairly quiet one for me. I've been going through kind of old stock of beers to get them all cleared out before Christmas, before I allow myself to move on to the good stuff that I've ordered for the Christmas period, which basically just consists of a fridge full of Cannonball.
Nice.
But there was nothing really in that load that I went through, but there were two beers that have sort of stood out this week. One of them was I actually did this year's Fuller's Vintage, so the 2015 version, which I thought I wanted to do it while it was still fairly young to get kind of a point of reference on that one, because I bought 3 bottles of it, and I plan to do kind of one next year and then one in a couple of years. So and that was nice. That was a decent drink. It was really lively out of the bottle, and it softened as it drank. And I'm kind of hoping to get similar sort of feelings from this one tonight. And then the other standout, and this was an absolute standout this week, got sent a bottle from Uprising Brewery, who have sent me some stuff before. They're the sort of craft spin-off of Windsor and Eton. And this beer has what can only be described as the best festive beer name ever. It was called Scumbag Maggot, which is after the famous line from the Pogues and Kirsty MacColl's Fairy Tale of New York. It was an Russian Imperial Stout, up in the 8.5% range, and dry hopped with juniper as well. So not really hopped, but dry hops with juniper to give it a feel of gin in a nod to Shane McGowan. But all I can say, mate, was it was absolutely stunning. It was like blow my head off stunning. It was such a drinkable stout. It was like walking through a wet forest full of pine needles. It was beautiful. So it's a great work, again, from the guys at Uprising there, and I'm really grateful for them sending that through for me to try, because it was incredible. That's really all I've got to report this week in terms of the good beers. What about yourself, mate?
Okay. Well, as usual, I've only had a few. So I've got a friend, he's a photographer, and he went along about a month or so ago and did some photos for the guys who run Hackney Brewery.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So he, taking some corporate director type photos for their website or for their investment documents or whatever the hell he did. But he got me a couple of beers from them. So over the last week I've gotten through those. So the first one was Golden Ale from Hackney, which typical I won't say run of the mill because it was quite nice, but a standard golden ale as you would expect from a typical real ale golden. Really nice. The other one was a raspberry crystal Weizen, which lovely and refreshing, and big fruits coming through it. Not too much yeastiness. I don't think I've ever had a crystal Weizen before, but with the Weizen, I'm assuming it's somewhat Germanic. So I was expecting, the big German flavours coming in, but it wasn't too bad. It was kind of tempered by the raspberry, so that was really good. And just tonight, as my pre-recording beer, which is becoming something of a habit now, I had a Monarchia from Summer Wine, which I picked up from Hopper and the Black a couple of months ago. And, whoo, baby, I really like that one. It's right up my street. Grapefruit, pineapple, coconut, lovely. Very, very nice.
It's probably a good job that we're at the end of the season, mate. Seeing as you seem to have got into a habit of having pre-show beers, you can knock that one right on the head.
Well, I still got a can of Revelation, so I was going to have that instead. But I thought, no, let's get through this bottle in case it's on its last legs, because I don't know how long it'll stay fresh. So I'm glad I did. But we've got plenty else in the fridge, because like you, I have stocks and stocks of shit I need to get through, as you can see behind me.
Like I say, I just had to get rid of some of mine because I was like, there's beers that I've been avoiding for months, and I was like, and I literally set myself a target. If you do not drink all of these beers, you cannot start on your Christmas stock. So that was the only way I could get around drinking them.
Well, let's get into this week's beer then.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
As I said, it's the Fuller's Vintage Ale 2014. Have we done one of these on the show before? I don't think we have.
We have. I think we did the 2012. Yeah. It was possibly our first season. I think we finished off with one of these. But
in which case, we would have had the current year one, wouldn't we?
Yeah. I'm kind of setting out this stall now, mate. I think this is going to become our staple end of year beer to feature the previous year's incarnation. Because I think it's quite a nice way to finish the year.
It is, because Fuller's are one of the breweries that we cut our teeth on as podcasters. If we're going to get all self-referential and all that kind of shit. Obviously, one of our favourite episodes was when we interviewed John Keeling for about 3 hours. The poor chap. And Fuller's have always been a go-to brewer for me living in London. You can always rely on, London Pride at least being on the bar. And say what you will about London Pride, at least it's consistent and drinkable if you're in the mind for that kind of thing.
Absolutely, and we rediscovered recently just how good the likes of Bengal Lancer are as well in terms of beer. Like I say, I think it's a brewery that's very easy to overlook. But that actually just does churn out some stunning stuff, and the vintage ales for me, going back many years, even before I was sort of like a proper beer drinker and I was still into the lager, you always used to see them on the shelf and think, oh, that looks pretty nice, pretty special. It's kind of like the Coca-Cola truck on the television when the Fuller's Vintage comes out, it's Christmas.
Indeed. And they're going up in value as well. Each year they're going up in value. So I've got a 2013 one somewhere, which I think is worth about £9 now. So I'm going to hold on to that till I retire.
They're pretty much doubling their value year on year.
Yeah.
If you look at it, like you say, if you look at the website, last year's one is worth £9. The year before that is worth 16. And literally they go back to some of the early ones. They're now selling for like 180, 200 quid a bottle. Which is, we're getting into sort of like wine territory there, aren't we? For vintages, but
yeah,
it's a staple.
Yeah, I joked on Twitter that in 10 years I'm going to have a bottle share with all my Fuller's vintage bottles, 50 quid a head. So, anyway, so it pours with lovely little bit of carbonation running through it. It's a nice golden colour. Pretty clear for bottle conditioned beer. It pours out quite nicely, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's beautifully clear. I made the mistake last night with the 2015 of dumping the whole thing in the glass, and of course they got all the yeast at the bottom of it. So I've poured it very carefully tonight to get this beautifully clear beer, and it's got a lovely head on it as well. What looks like a lovely thick creamy head just sat at the top of the glass as well. It's really inviting. The aroma on that's cracking. There's a little bit of citrus. There's some tropical notes in there. Maybe a little bit of grapefruit coming through. A little bit of a woody backbone, as you'd expect from Fuller's. Oh, mate, should we get stuck into this one?
Let's get into it. Yeah.
Cheers.
Wow, that's a little treacly.
It is sticky, isn't it?
Little thickness to that. That's really interesting.
But not in a bad way.
No, and a nicely settling bitterness as well.
That it's got kind of like almost a barley wine feel to it. That kind of big stickiness.
Good shout.
Some caramel flavours in there, maybe some marmalade coming through as well, giving it that stickiness. just now, just as it's going down, I'm getting a slight burn from it as well, maybe a slight boozy burn from it because, of course, these aren't barrel aged, so this is just bottle conditioned vintage ale.
Yeah.
But that's really tasty stuff, that one.
Indeedy. So let's get stuck into this. We're not just doing a beer review, we're also doing a review of season 8. So
kind of reviewing the show. It's quite strange, isn't it? But yeah, let's have a look back, mate.
Looking back on the up till tonight, the 14 shows that preceded this one.
Yes.
And there were some big ones in there. But I'm going to kind of run through from top to bottom the beers that we've done in this season, and then we'll call out, the memorable ones, which I think will be quite obvious to some. Well, the memorable shows anyway. Anyway, starting from the top. From Tiny Rebel we had Kutch, and from Brew by Numbers we had 1402, which memory serves, was that their triple? I can't remember. We had Jakehead IPA from a brewery whose name escapes me because I didn't write it down.
Wylam. Wylam Brewery from the northeast. I think I remember we had number one fan on that show as well.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Jack of Clubs and Queen of Hearts, which was a double header from Wildcard from East London. Espresso Stout from Squawk. New Zealand Hoppenweiser from Cloudwater, our first taste of Cloudwater on the show. We had Snowball, a beer I was looking forward to for so long, from Wayan, who do some smashing beers. N7 from Hamilton. We had our Essex Brewery showcase. Justin Mason came on and talked for about 3 hours solid, and we recorded the entire thing. Love you, Jason. Justin. So much I love you.
So much I love you. You can't even get his name right. He's been on the show more than any other person other than you and me, and you still can't get his name right.
I'm about 1.5 beers gone, which is pretty much for me. Organic Chocolate Stout from Samuel Smith. We had our homebrew special, which blew our fucking heads off. Did it not?
Absolutely, yes. That was a real highlight. But we'll come on. Like I say, we're going to come on to highlights in a minute, I think.
Revelation IPA in cans from Dark Star, Yellow Belly from Buxton, and Sourdough from Wild Beer, and last week's show with the Irish, 200 Fathoms from Galway Bay.
It's been a big season, mate. It's been what I can only describe as our biggest season yet. So in numbers, that's 15 shows, 23 beers, 11 guests, and 10 interviews that we've done this season. That's more than we have ever crammed into a season before.
That's almost like online community gold medal worthy.
You would think, wouldn't you? You'd think that somebody by now would recognise us for what we do.
We just do what we do, or rather, you do what you do, and I turn up every Monday. looking, I'm fishing. I'm fishing for confidence. Looking back at we won't include tonight's beer because it's unfair, seeing as we've only had a couple of mouthfuls. What's been your standout from the 14 episodes that precede this one?
Standout episode or standout beer? Because in my mind, they're slightly different things.
Let's put my teeth in. Let's go for standout episode, which as an episode as a capsule. Do you stand out?
I think the one for me that stands out more than any other show this season was the one that we did where we had Colin Strong on. So the Buxton Yellow Belly episode, because I thought I personally could listen to Colin talk for hours about brewing and innovation, and it was great to have him on the show talking to us about what he gets up to and what Buxton are doing. I've said it a number of times this season. For me, Buxton are my brewery of 2015. They can do no wrong. Everything that they've produced has been better than the last. They keep innovating, they keep improving, and it was just a real honour to have Colin on with us. And I think a few people commented that we didn't really do a lot on that episode. We just kind of sat back and let Colin talk. But, I enjoyed that, and the beer was great. So for me, that's probably the standout episode. closely pushed by the homebrew special, which are always real highlights of the season anyway.
Yeah, and the other thing with the homebrew special is, again, we don't have to do much.
No,
Especially when you get stand out for me. I think as a summary of all the work he's been doing over the last year, the Essex Brewery Showcase that when Justin came on, and I wasn't a big fan of all the beers that were on the show, but seeing that kind of come together for him to highlight a scene, and it's easy to, being in London, especially me, being in London, it's easy to forget that Essex, this huge county, has so much going on. I work in central London, so I just need to throw a pint glass and you hit a craft brewer. Whereas in Essex, such diversity out there in what I assume is really core camera territory. So you don't expect, nothing against camera, but you don't expect that much innovation in the brewing scene. But that was a great episode, but followed again, like you say, by the homebrew special, which is a highlight for everyone who listens to the show. I'm sure every season it's a highlight for us. We can't wait to get to it every season.
Absolutely, yeah.
And those boys put on in such effort for those 3 beers, and they came through with the good, didn't they?
Oh, absolutely. And the beers, all of the beers in the homebrew special were great. I think I said at the time, for me the standout was AD's Imperial Black Orange IPA. And I just want to give a shout out to AD as well, because he's actually sent us another load of those as well to drink for our Christmas stockings. So I'm really grateful to AD for sending us those, and he's also sent us some of the ones that's got the other type of yeast in as well. So if you remember when on that show he was talking about the 2 different types of yeast, he's sent us both so we can do a comparison as well. So looking forward to drinking more of those over Christmas, and finding a Terry's Chocolate Orange to pair it with. I think, because they're not orangey enough already.
Nice. Anyway, going back to this beer.
Yes.
I can't quite remember the last one that I had, but I don't think it was quite like this. This seems really lots of woody, malty flavours coming through it.
Yeah, this was one that when it was released last year, I don't know what it was, but I got very excited about this one. I think it was because they always put a fantastic description on the boxes for these, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but in a nutshell, what they were saying was they had looked at the finest hop varieties from both sides of the Atlantic for this one. So it's got Goldings from England, and then American varieties of Liberty and Cascade in it. And for some reason, I got really excited about that, because I thought, wow, this is going to be kind of a real UK-US hybrid beer of the best of what we've got and the best of what they've got. So I bought a couple of bottles of this and been sat on this one all year, and it's been like an itch that I just can't scratch. It's been there all year, and I've been wanting to try it. And the other one's tucked away to develop a little bit more. But yeah, the flavours coming through it, kind of everything that I was hoping for from this, if I'm honest. It's got kind of that light, zesty, citrusy feel to it. But then there's where it's developed, and because I've got no point of reference, because I didn't try this young last year, I don't know what it tasted like. But I'm assuming, and I'm going to stick my foot out here and say that I think it's got that stickiness has begun to develop over the last year. I don't think it would have been like that a year ago, and it will be great to hear from anyone that maybe did do this one young, and let us know what it was like, because I think this is a completely different beer now.
Yeah, I would imagine at release this would have been a slightly malt forward golden ale with some, with the Cascade kind of shining through a little bit. But now that those malt flavours are really developed and the stickiness is coming through. And I've got another bottle tucked away, which I was going to age for a few years, and I can only imagine in a couple of years' time just what this is. This is going to be almost barley wine-ish.
Yeah. In
a couple of years, I would think.
Maybe it's one that we can come back and revisit for our 1000th show, mate, when we eventually get there.
Why not? If the internet is still around, we're not just transmitting via our brain.
Yeah, if somebody hasn't broken it by then.
Well, we done now standout episode. What's been your standout beer from this season, Steve?
Oh, mate, this is one that I've kind of been contemplating all week, if I'm honest with you. I've been looking at the list and I'm like, every one of those beers was good in its own way. The season also ended up, I think, more out of accident than anything. It was kind of backloaded with 4 very big beers back to back almost at the end of the season in the Impy Stouts that we've been doing the last few weeks. But so I've had to really go back and think over every beer and kind of reconsider each of them. And I think I came to the conclusion that there were 2 that were standouts for me. So the first one was the Squawk Expresso Stout. Early on in the season. I think we did that in the run up to Indie Man. Absolutely lovely. Everything that I want in a espresso stout. It was perfect. The other one, and probably for introducing me to a completely new style, and actually making me have to do a hell of a lot of research to find out about the style, was the Cloudwater New Zealand Hopfenweiss, which for me was kind of complete new territory, and territory I'd be quite happy to explore further as well. So if I guess that's 2 big wins for Manchester there as well, in those breweries. But for me, yeah, those 2 absolute standouts. What about yourself, mate?
Okay. Well, I'll follow your tack and pick out 2. So the first one is a beer that I'd had before, but I was always wondering if it was just nostalgia, kind of putting it on a pedestal for me as the perfect example of the style which I've been long hunting for. And that is the chocolate stout from Samuel Smith. And it was exactly as I remembered. It was gorgeous. I absolutely if you can do a chocolate stout that beats Samuel Smith's one, please send me a bottle free of charge.
Shameless plea there.
Oh, I'll pay for it. And the other one was kind of a good example of the kind of beers that really get to me, and that was the sourdough from Wild Beer.
Yeah.
Just a great, refreshing, hit all the right notes for me for that particular style of beer, and that's one that I will continue to go back to if I ever see it in the shops, or if I'm ever lucky enough to see it in a pub.
That's one that I ummed and ahed over as to whether it was kind of one of my top 2. I think if I was going further, that would have been number 3 for this season, would have been the sourdough, because as you say, it was just it was a breath of fresh air in terms of the style, and it kind of popped up in between these final 4 shows of the season that have all been impy beers and they've all been high in ABV, and then all of a sudden there was this 3.2% Berliner Weiss style beer in the middle, which was just an absolute revelation. And we were just there, and it was like, bang, oh, my beer's gone. I wish I had another one, sort of thing, It was, absolute cracker. That one was.
Yeah, the great beers don't always have to be, heading towards double digits.
No.
But saying that, the Yellow Belly is a beer that has obviously been high on everyone's list for ages, and finally got to have a crack at it, and just gorgeous.
Absolutely, yeah. Can't disagree with you there, mate. I mean, like I said, every beer that we put into this season, we thought long and hard. Thought long and hard about it. That there were times that we were having to extend the season, and we were going to be like recording on Christmas Day. That there were so many beers in the list, and eventually we had to strip them back a little bit to what we ended up with. But I think we've possibly for the first time tried a real range of styles rather than just sticking to certain styles, and we've featured some breweries for the first time, and it's been just a real varied season as far as I'm concerned. And I've been doing some stats. I was a little bit bored this week, so got a little bit of a quiz for you here, mate. So this is kind of going back to the beginning. So this is every Beer O'Clock Show podcast that we've ever done. So this is main shows, spin-offs, the works. How many breweries do you think we've featured to date on the show? Ballpark figure.
Oh God, 40 something.
Okay, we've done 98 breweries to date, which means we whoever is the one after next. That's the first time we've done them. They'll have the honour of being our 100th brewery that we've featured on the show.
We have to remember that then.
Don't worry, I'm on it. Okay, so who has been our most featured brewery from the UK?
Thornbridge.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's the top three. Thornbridge were featured 7 times. Adnams were featured 6 times, and then Brewdog were featured 6 times as well. And then and then just after that, we've featured Fuller's 5 times, and that's including tonight's beer. Just need to bear in mind that obviously some of those, or in fact all 4 of those, we've done revisited shows on their beers as well, so they've actually kind of doubled up. What's our most featured American brewery?
Sierra Nevada.
Bang, spot on. 3 times we've featured Sierra Nevada. But again, that's including the revisited show. Okay, so this one will come as probably no surprise. And if you don't get this, I'm going to be really disappointed, mate. What's our most featured style of beer?
IPA.
Absolutely, yeah. We've done 30 IPAs in the history of the Beer O'Clock show, which is 17% of all of the beers that we've ever featured on.
Which just goes to show how much I love you, Steve, because I don't like IPAs.
I know, and this made me realise today that actually I need to start putting some beers in the season lists that you like as well. But following on from that, and it's kind of interesting reading this. So the next one after IPA is your bulk standard pale ale, which we featured 16 times, and then your standard bitter or variant on a standard bitter 14 times, and then black IPA we've featured 14 times as well. So
oh wow,
yeah, there are some really interesting little stats in here, and like I say, for me it means I think we've still got a ways to go in terms of looking at different styles that we should be featuring. I mean, we've only featured 1 double and 1 triple in all of the episodes that we've done, which is
that's somewhat our aversion to the whole continental style.
It is, but I think we're going to be addressing that soon, aren't we?
We are.
So yeah, mate, that was just a little bit of fun. Just wanted to get your thoughts on some of that. But yeah, that's all of that's based on 145 episodes. So that's main show.
Wow.
That's summer specials, spin-offs, and all the rest of it. So yeah, we've featured quite a few beers in that time.
That's amazing. I know we've done a lot of podcasts, but fucking hell.
Yeah, when you start breaking it down like that, like I say, when you get 5 minutes and you realise how bored you are, when you start playing with a spreadsheet, God knows what can happen.
How's this beer going for you, mate?
It's going down far too easily.
Yeah.
It's where it's been in the glass for a while now, and it's had a chance to breathe. It's just mellowing a little bit. It's smooth. It's almost getting a creamy texture to it now for me, and it's got such a soft finish. I'm going to say there's almost no bitterness in there at all for me. It's just soft, creamy finish.
Yeah, the bitterness that was there on first taste that kind of settled down. I'm not getting that now. It's kind of broadening with its maltiness, but otherwise it's you're not getting the bit of residue, which it makes it quite pleasant, really. It's a lovely winter beer, really, if you're gonna be honest.
It's perfect winter beer, perfect Christmas beer. I know we said this with last week's beer as well, but this with some cheese, this would just blow you away if you had a nice bit of cheese with this one.
Be nice in a pie as well.
It would, but that would almost be sacrilege, wouldn't it? And unless you use a bottle straight after you've bought it when it's only $4.50 a bottle.
Maybe.
Yeah. Don't put one of those 200 quid bottles in a pie.
Not now that my collection of Fuller's Vintage is about the most expensive assets I've got. Apart from maybe my computer and my car. What else do we have to say about season 8 so far, mate?
Well,
what else you got for me?
We've had some feedback from listeners. So
cool.
On a slightly different spin to the hot topic this week, we just literally asked people what their highlight of the season was. So on the poll, we gave them 4 options. We asked them if it was the beers, the interviews, the guests, or hot topic itself. overwhelmingly 56% of the people that took part in that poll voted for beers. So again, I think they share our view that it's been kind of a really good season for the beers. And then a few people made some comments as well. So I'm just going to read through some of those comments now. So John Hicks at Very Dark Cherry. The Homebrew Show was great. I don't think they'll get any argument there from us. Top Chat also enjoyed Colin Strong and also enjoyed the Sierra Nevada Revisited show as well, which is
cool.
kind of it's kind of weird with those revisited shows. We don't talk about them on this show. We kind of did them, but we've never really referenced them. So if you've not listened to the revisited stuff, take a listen. In fact, listen to the original episode first, and then listen to the revisited show and see how our taste buds have changed.
Don't listen to the original punk one.
No, don't ever listen to that. I think we should delete that. Just take it down so no one can ever listen to it. Mickey Edwards at SME at Smed Edwards. You usually have some very interesting interviews every series. This one has been pretty top notch. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. We have tried to vary the interviews that we've done, so we're not just sticking with breweries. We've obviously brought in Ali to talk about the hops, Caroline to talk about food and beer matching. We spoke to Adrian about beer writing, so we're trying to keep those interviews varied. Martin Oates, who is very, very close, I'm going to put this out there, he's very close to becoming our number one fan. If Miles doesn't up his shit again. Martin could take the crown. So he's enjoyed the chat, the interaction between the hosts and the guests, the beers, and above all, he really enjoys Hot Topic. Keep up the good work. And oh yeah, he loves the Mark quotes as well.
Of course he does.
He's a big fan of the Mark quotes. Drac Uber at Drac Uber, who will be on next season as one of our homebrewers, says his highlight of the season has been discovering the show. Keep up the good work. So thanks for that, Drac, and look forward to having you on the show. Guzzler at Simo THFC. Colin Strong was my series highlight. I think 2015 was Buxton Brewery's year. So many solid beers. Very much echoing my thoughts on Buxton there. Luke McGlynn at McGlynn784 agrees with Simo THFC. The Colin Strong episode was very good. Good beers throughout and lots of new discoveries. Clay Chisholm at Clayfish simply said polls. I guess that means he enjoys the polls that we do and the Hot Topic. Sparky Wright, as usual, the Homebrew Show was my favourite, but a strong series throughout. Plim Sean, once again, predominantly the beers. Always good to discover newbies. Keep it up. And then finally, Alan at Alan Pierce said about the poll that we ran that we humbly left ourselves out of the vote as the hosts. Show would be a big box of nothing without the interplay between you two and the guests.
Well, let's be honest, despite being the best beer podcasters in the world, we're also quite humble.
We are very humble. Indeed, we don't go on about how great we are. We don't self-promote at all. It's important to say, though, that to every one of those people that has commented and every single person that's contributed to this show this year, if it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be doing this. It's only because you guys keep listening to this shit that we keep doing it. So keep it coming, because we do enjoy doing this, and both Mark and I have gone on record a number of times to say that as long as we're having fun, we'll carry on doing it. As soon as we stop having fun, we won't. But you know what else is good? When you guys love what we do, and when you tell us how much you love it, that's good for us. So keep the feedback coming. More. Yeah.
We do love meeting people on Twitter. So if you're a new listener, let us know. We like meeting new people.
We do.
Yeah. So shall we get some final thoughts on the beer bell? Pow.
Yes, let's, before you lose the ability to speak once again. It's a good job it wasn't a controversial hot topic this week, otherwise we might have had another Mark rant.
I see Martin like my quote from last week's one.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody loved that, I think, mate. The beer, I'm not sure there's any more I can add to what I've already said. It's completely changed in the glass for me. I'm getting maybe a little bit of peach and nectarine on the nose now as it's mellowed and it's warmed. On the flavour, I'm still getting that stickiness. There's still marmalade there for me. Very, very light wood in there now. But on the finish, that finish is so smooth. There's no bitterness there whatsoever, and it just slips down really, really easily. It's an absolute cracker.
Yeah, on the nose, I'm getting a bit of booze on the nose, a bit of woody booze that we get from some of the barrel aged stuff that we. But like you say, it's not a barrel aged beer. But and the taste again, like you say, that marmalade is coming in, that sweetness on top, which is kind of offsetting the biscuity maltiness of it. Smoothing out into. You can see where this beer is going to progress in the next couple of years, I think, as we age it a little bit more. In a couple of years, I think that booze is kind of going to transcend into a really rich mahogany beer. Rich woody notes coming in with still that treacly sweetness coming through the middle. It's going to be a real sipper in a couple of years, I think.
Absolutely.
And 8.5%. I just noticed it's 8.5%. Fucking hell. I shouldn't have had that 6.5% beer before.
I think this could be an interesting one. In a few years' time, we might resurrect the Revisited series just for this beer, to let the other one that we've got age a little bit and see where it goes in comparison to this one.
Yeah, well, I still got my 2013 one. So,
all right.
We should get together one day and, in a couple of years, maybe on its, on its third or fourth birthday, and have a crack at it.
That's cool tasting. Yeah, absolutely.
Cool tasting. Okay, well, do we have a prize, mate?
We do. The competition has been ridiculous this week, mate. Largely because I checked back over the whole year's worth of prizes, to see what had been going on and who had won, and I realised that we had a tie. So Son of a Gun and Fantastic Film are both on 5 wins each this year. So during the whole of 2015, this year for the prizes. So I happened to mention that on Twitter. The guys have literally pulled out all the stops. It's a good job they're in different countries because I think they'd be tearing strips off of each other. And they've ended up producing 2 pictures which... I don't want this to sound cheesy or anything. I can't separate them. I really can't. So I'm actually going to award it to them both this week. So Son of a Gun pulled out all the stops. He managed to get his hands on a load of Buxton beers, knowing full well that they've been my brewery of the year. And one of the pictures that he produced was this picture of Battle Horse, which was he's picked out some of the colours in a black and white picture. It was one of 4 or 5 Buxton pictures that he posted that were just awesome. But then Fantastic Film took it up a level. He went for simplicity and he went for what's going on the show. So here's a bottle of tonight's beer in with some Christmas lights. And I literally can't separate those 2 pictures. So you know what? I'm going to award a joint prize this week to Son of a Gun and Fantastic Film. They get to each get a massive box of festive nothing landing on their doorstep in the next couple of weeks, and they get to share the title of Prize Champion of 2015 for both pushing the bar on the pictures. It's just been brilliant. And I encourage people to still get involved in the prize even while we're off air. You'll have a chance with the 12 Beers of Christmas. I'll be doing a daily prize on Instagram. But all you've got to do is put your picture on Instagram, use the hashtag Cheers Guys, and if your picture catches my eye, you might win one of the daily 12 Beers of Christmas big boxes of nothing, or when we come back with season 9 in February, we'll have a whole new big box of nothing to start giving away to people. But again, thanks to everybody for getting involved in that over this season and over the year as well. It's been great seeing some of the pictures that are put up on Instagram.
Yeah, it's been amazing. So talking about season 9, mate, what's coming up next year? We're taking a little bit of a break.
We
And then
are.
we're coming back.
We do like a bit of a break after Christmas. Season 9, we're finally going to do it. We're gonna do Belgium. We don't know what we're going to do yet because we're still deciding. And we're hoping to work with beautiful beers to put together a box of beers that our listeners can buy. But we're planning on doing 6 Belgian beers, which will be kind of 2 introductory beers, 2 intermediate, and then 2 advanced. So we'll be doing a whole range of styles. So that will be the theme for the season. Around that, other things that we know we've got confirmed for next season in terms of breweries, we know we're going to do a Northern Monk beer. We know we're going to do some 0 degrees beers as well. Other things that we're going to do as well, the homebrew special will be back. And for the first time ever, it will have its first international homebrewer on it. Sarah Finney, who many of you will remember from our Irish season, also homebrews, so she's going to get involved. Will Millard and Drac Uber are going to be our 3 homebrewers for next season's homebrew special. And then the other thing that we're bringing back, because people liked it this season, was the County Showcase. So next season, we'll be bringing back the County Showcase. It's going to become a regular staple of each season. And next season, we're going to be doing Sussex. And we'll be having Rach, who's at Look At Brew on Twitter. She'll be coming on to host the County Showcase for us next season. That's all I can tell you at the moment. Other things I've got literally written on my list are something from Manchester towards the end of the season to tie in with the Manchester Beer Week, and Conor Murphy will be coming back on for that show, and yeah, that's about it. There's a few gaps in the schedule at the moment, but we'll be there or thereabouts come the middle of January, and there'll be stuff up on the website and all over Twitter letting you know what beers we're doing.
Very good. Well, we're getting to the end now, mate. Do you have any news bits?
It's kind of news and it's kind of a thank you. Every year, people at this time of year, the blogging community starts writing their Golden Pints, and I did mine last week. They're up on the website if you want to have a look back at what I thought were the best beers, the best breweries, the best events, of 2015. But you know what, mate? We've actually picked up a few Golden Pints in other people's posts, which I'm really, really pleased about, and I'm really proud of as well. And I just wanted to thank the people that have taken the time to think about us, actually. So Gareth at Kolu Leeds, Martin at MJPO007, Pete at PJM McCary, and Rob at Hopzine. Thank you all for your Golden Pints nominations. They do mean a lot to us, and especially a couple of the guys mentioned that I think they've kind of picked up on maybe some feelings that I may have had over the last few weeks in terms of, as a podcast, we kind of occupy this uncomfortable space between people that write and people that do stuff on camera. And as a result, we always get missed out in awards or recognition and all that sort of stuff, and those 4 guys have picked up on that. They all listen to the show. They're always there. They always support us. So thank you for those nominations. They do mean a lot to us, and that kind of, again, that community, that listener feedback is so important to us. So just keep it coming.
Indeed, and as we look back at season 8 with our 15 episodes, 20-something beers, 10 interviews. We're just amazing.
We're just amazing. Hang on, let me just reach around and pat myself on the back there. If I could reach through the screen and pat you on the back, mate, I would. But
thank you.
We do enjoy doing this. It's as simple as that. It's a lot of hard work that goes into planning these shows and getting the interviews and editing them and putting them out there. And if you guys knew the requests that I put through to Mark sometimes, you'd wonder how we're still doing this thing right now.
And if you're listening to this on Friday and you happen to be in Leeds, come along tomorrow night to our beer crawl. Come along. We've only got an absolute truckload of people already coming along, so a couple of others won't hurt.
Why not join us?
Come along and say hello.
We'll be dragging our asses around Leeds.
And don't forget, a big thank you to the companies that have given our listeners discount codes this year. Ales by Mail, Beautiful Beers, Beer Merchants, Ebria, and the new Craft Kangaroo directory, which hasn't launched quite yet. They've had some issues, but maybe by the time you're listening to this, they will have ironed those out. They all offer a 10% discount to Beer O'Clock Show listeners on any beers from their website. So check out the details on our beer list page on the website for those discount codes. And a big thanks to those guys, some of which have been supporting us for quite a while. You can find us online at beeroclockshow.co.uk, on Twitter at beeroclockshow, on Instagram at beeroclockshow. Steve is on Instagram. No, he's on Untapped. What's that thing you do on your phone? Untapped at Beer Show Steve. I'm on Untapped at Beer Show Mark, and I'm on Twitter at Beer Show Mark. The next you'll hear from us is on the Beer Nation episode that's coming out 29th of December, providing I edit it in time, which was a great day chatting with a load of different people from the beer community about beer. And we also have our winter special, All Black, that we recorded live at Hop Burns and Black. It's coming out mid-January. And we'll be back the start of February, Season 9. Steve, this has been a big year. It's been a big season. Thank you very much for having me part of it.
Oh, mate, thank you for the time you take in putting the shows together. Just one more thing to mention. Make sure you join us for the 12 Beers of Christmas from the 20th of December.
Yeah.
We'll be drinking a beer every day. My reviews this year are going to be up on Instagram. That's where you'll be able to see them. All the details are on our website if you want to click through and find out how to get involved. The thing for us with 12 Beers of Christmas, again, it's about the community getting involved. Drink whatever beers you want, however you want, whenever you want, on whatever day you want. You don't have to buy anything from us. You don't have to get involved at a certain time on a certain day to do something. You just freestyle the whole fucking thing. You do it your way. You just enjoy good beer and you share it with others. So get involved. Get involved on Instagram and Twitter. Use the hashtag 12 Beers of Xmas. And 1212, so it's 12 the number. I'm overthinking this. 12 Beers of Christmas hashtag. You know what it is, guys. Get involved and join us for the festive period. It's going to be a good laugh this year. Mark's getting involved, aren't you, mate?
If I remember, yeah. I've got a couple of beers, but like you say, that it starts on the night we get back from Leeds, so
it's a big night to start it on.
Big night. But I'll pick something simple.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got a couple of beers to get through.
Anyway, mate,
Right.
it's been a great year. 2015 has been the year of the Beer O'Clock Show. I think it really has. This last season has been amazing. I've really enjoyed drinking all of these beers with you as well, and I'm going to be a little bit bored for the next few weeks. So can't wait for February to come back with season 9.
Indeedy. And everyone who's listening and everyone who follows us on Twitter, we hope you have a very safe Christmas in January. And we look forward to filling your ears with beery nonsense in about 6 weeks' time. So until then, Stevie.
It's been the highlight of my year.
And mine. Bye-bye.